Hi friends, welcome back to Anna Nail School English channel. So in today's video I'm going to show you how to transform a bitten short nails. So working on these kind of nails are a little tricky, and most of the technicians do not work on such nails because first of all it's time consuming, second you need extra skills to basically build a nail on this one. So we are going to learn a little bit of tips and tricks on this particular tutorial. So watch the video till the end, and also don't forget to subscribe to my channel. So like every other extension videos, we need to start with a basic dry manicure. So here what I'm doing is I'm using a orange wood stick and I'm gently pushing back the nail plate. So now if you look at the nail plate, it's literally very small, and also we have some a little bit of a puffy skin around the free edge area, right? So now when we push back the nails or the epinecum area, so we will have like a little bit more exposed nail bed. Okay, so this is a common scene where for the bitten short nails, when you push back the cuticle, you will get a little bit more extra nail bed. Okay, not in all cases but most of the cases. Okay, so we push back the cuticles first and then we started with the dry manicure. So for dry manicure I'm here using a diamond bit, which this particular bit is called a flame bit, and the abrasive mark here is a blue abrasive mark because this is actually she used to be a regular client, but she had some personal stuff, so she did not come for like at least a year or so. Since she was not doing any kind of extension, we had a lot of dead skin in her nail plate, so we had to really carefully file down everything from the nail plate. Anyways, when you have extensions on short bitten nails, it normally lasts 2.5 weeks, maximum 3 weeks. So that doesn't mean all nails will fall off, 1 or 2 might fall off. So when you're working with such nails, you should upfront tell the client that it may or may not last more than 3 weeks. So they are supposed to come back for a refill or a touch up after like 2 or 3 weeks. That is what is recommended. Okay, but as a technician we try our best to build a long lasting set. Okay, so as you can see here, using my electric file, here I'm taking as much time as needed because cleaning that nail plate is very important. As you can see here, the white part that I'm filing off, it's not the nail bed, it's the skin that is stuck in the nail plate. That is the cuticle that I'm filing it off. Okay, so if you leave here, even if a little is left, then you'll end up with lifting or your nails will kind of fall off. Okay, so let's complete the dry manicure. So now as I mentioned, I have pushed back all the cuticles, used my electric file to file off all the dead skin from the nail plate in and around the cuticle, and after that I used my cuticle nipper to trim the cuticle area. Okay, so in such scenarios like this particular client, trimming is very important, but trimming is a process that is not mandatory for every single client of yours. Okay, this is a question that I often get from people. First of all, people are a little scared of trimming. To tell you the truth, even I am a little like extra cautious when I trim the cuticle area because obviously we don't want to hurt the client. So little practice is like very important when it comes to trimming the cuticle area. But like I said, for every single client this is not mandatory, but a client like this, we must trim the cuticle, but otherwise the nails won't look like a freshly manicured nail. Okay, and obviously it will also help us apply the product neat and clean around the cuticle area. Okay, now I'm going to use my 180 grit file, and I'm using the 180 side. I'm using it to just buff off all the shine from the nail plate. I'm not going too hard on the cuticle area because we use the e-file to clean it up, so it's not necessary we go all the way to the cuticle area, but I'm gently buffing all over the nail plate with the 180 grit, but I'm not putting any kind of pressure because we need to be careful while filing the nail bed because we don't want to over file it. Okay, so always use the 180 grit side, or if your client has like a very thin or damaged nails, then obviously you will not be using a 180 grit, you will rather use a 220 or a 240 grit. Okay, the same thing also you can do with your electric file. If you have sand band, then you can do that. And once this is done, clean up the nail plate, and I'm using here alcohol and lint free wipe to just wipe off all all the dust, whatever is remaining on the nail plate. Having a dry nail plate is very important for the extensions to last. Okay, so just make sure that your nail plate is absolutely clean. There is no dust, oil, nothing on the nail plate. Okay, so I'm using the alcohol to clean up the nail plate, and after this we'll start with our product application process. Initially I thought I'll go with the tip application process because I always use foams to work on these kinds of nails, and I thought this time let's try if tips works. Even though I did a little bit of prep on the tips, this did not work. As you can see, the tip was going all the way to the cuticle area, which is not a good thing. So I decided not to continue with it, and I went back to my original way of doing the nails. So here we are going to use nail foams, but before I put the nail foams, so if you're using a tip, you will apply the tip first and prep it, and then you do the primer dehydrator. But since we are going to use the foams, I started applying dehydrator. So dehydrator basically dries out all the oil moisturizer from your nail plate, and then we use an non-acidic primer, which will basically act as a bonder between your nail plate and the product, so that we have like a really long lasting extension. And do not apply too much of the primer, only apply a little bit like that. If you apply too much, that will also impact or affect your durability of your extension. Okay, so here I have my foams. I'm just going to quickly prep one. So when I put the foams on, I don't go for all the fingers at once. There are people who does that, but I prefer doing one by one or like 2 fingers at a time, because the client will keep on moving, so that might spoil the alignment of the foam. So I don't prefer doing all fingers at once. I do one by one or 1 or 2 fingers at a time. Okay, so I was just prepping the foam here. So if you want to know how to do foam prepping and foam application, you can check out my other videos on acrylic extensions, where I have explained in detail. I think the video is pinned in my channel's homepage. Please check that out, and I'll put the details in the description also. Now I just realized I have to also keep my monomer and polymer and everything ready. So here I am using Mia Secrets EMA monomer. So I'm pouring a little bit onto my Bitten dish. So I use a dropper so that I don't spill the monomer, because all of you know monomer is the most expensive thing in this entire kit of stuff. So I poured the monomer, and now I'm going to prep my brush. So the brush that I'm going to use today is a number 8 brush. So that's what I prefer. I have number 16 also, number 14 also, but I prefer number 8 ones to work with. If you're a beginner, you can start with number 8. If you're a little bit more experienced, then you can try number 10 or 12. Okay, so here now we need to measure the tip, prep the foam a little bit. So what I did was I just attached the foam to the finger, and then I marked the corners. I'm sorry, it went out of the frame a little bit, but like this I just marked the corners using a scissor. So this is to make sure that when we close the foam is coming under the nail bed. Okay, if the foam is not properly attached to each other or molded, then we will end up with a wide nail. Okay, that's why prepping the foam is very important. And after prepping the foam, I'm again attaching it just like that, and once I have the foam aligned, then I'm going to close it, and then I'm going to start applying my product. So the foams are on. As you can see, it's nice and tight. Now let's start with product application. So for a product application, as I mentioned, I'm using Mia Secret monomer and Mia Secret acrylic powder, and I'm using Cards number 8 Kolinsky brush. Okay, for acrylic extensions, brush is very important. If you wanted to know more about acrylic brushes, do let me know in the comment section. I'll make another video for you. Okay, so I'm starting with the first bead. I normally follow a 3 bead application technique. So depending on the length that you want to build, you can decide between 2 bead or 3 bead. Okay, so first bead I placed around the free edge area. Then I am going to use my brush to basically connect the product with the nail free edge area, and then I am going to reshape the nail. So here the difference between a foam and tip is, foam we have to build the shape using the brush and the product, whereas the tip we will reshape the tip as per our client's requirement, and then we lay the product on. Okay, so there you don't have to worry about laying the product in different size or shape, because we already have a pre-shaped base, right? But in the foam's case, we need to basically build the structure, length and shape of the nail using our brush and our skills. Okay, so here I'm going to do a almond shape, and here in this video I have not fast forwarded my video, so you can see how much time it takes. And remember, if you are not good with acrylic, then the bead will start to set. So if that is the case, I recommend, especially for beginners, start with a slow setting monomer, then eventually you can move on to fast setting monomers. Okay, so now I have already decided on the length and the shape of my first bead. Now I am going to take a second bead. So because one question I always get from people regarding the product application over foam is, how am I going to define the thickness? Okay, so see, if you're a beginner, obviously with one bead you won't be able to build the thickness that you wanted. Okay, because if the free edges are not thick enough, your extensions will start to crack or break, right? So we don't want that. So in case your first bead is not able to build the required thickness, don't worry about it. Take another bead, reapply on top of it and build the thickness. Okay, so the ideal thickness of your free edge should be around the same thickness as a credit card. You can go a little less than a credit card, but not more than a credit card. Okay, so here as you can see, I did the cuticle bead, and then I was looking at it, and then I saw that the free edge is not thick enough. So again I picked up a bead and I leveled it with the second bead, and then I build up the thickness. So the same way you can do it too. Now that finger is done, so I wanted to show you one more application. So here in the thumbnail you can see the puffy part is a little higher on this side. So in such situations, so this was still manageable, so I directly put the foam on. But there will be clients who has more puffy free edge. The skin will be like on top of your nail bed. Okay, so in such situation you won't be able to really put the foam on. So in such scenario, what we do is we sculpt a little extra free edge using acrylic on the air without any base, and once we have a little extra length here, then we can apply the foam, and then we can start with the regular application. But in this case it was not that extreme bad, so I decided to directly put the foam here. And again you can see there is a little gap between the nail plate and the foam. There is a small gap. Okay, so here that is fine, but if the gap is too much and if you start applying the product, then obviously the product will go inside the skin, and we need to avoid maximum skin contact of all these chemicals. Okay, but here in this case I was able to attach the foam without much problems. Okay, so this is something that you will understand while you do or while you gather experience. Okay, so now let's, as you can see, I have started the application process same as I showed you before. I place the bead around the free edge area, then using my brush I am tucking in the product corner to corner, and once I have the corner to corner connection, then I am extending the length and shape of the nails. Okay, one thing you should notice here is how the bead consistency is. So if your beads are like too runny, then you won't be able to do it the way I'm doing here. Then you will be like mostly concentrating on how to bring back the runny bead back into the right place, right? So liquid powder ratio is something that you need to work on to master this skill. Okay, now the color I am using is a cover acrylic. I still have like a little extra time to work here, and plus remember, acrylic will set faster if you're working in a hot environment, and if you're working in a cold environment it will start set slowly. And if you're in a hot environment and you want acrylic to set slower, then you can put a ball of ice cubes and then you can put your Bitten dish inside of it, so that the monomer is cold and it will prevent the powder from setting faster. Okay, so that is like a pro tip for you. Okay, so and if you're working in a winter environment and you want the monomer node to set a little faster, then you can use a hot setup, and you can put your dependence in like hot water or hot plate or something. Okay, so that way you can manipulate the speed of it. Okay, so here as you can see, we have finished our product application, cuticle application also, and this is how we apply product over a bitten short nail. Now it's time for us to remove the foams and start filing and shaping. So for filing and shaping, I'm using a hand file. So as you can see, I'm using the 100-180 grit side because I don't want to file down too much. Like I said, since we are using foams, we need to manually build this shape and all. So we have to reshape it with our hand file. So since it's an almond nail, that's why we have to do little extra effort. If it's a coffin or square nails, it's much easier to file and shape or to do the application over the foams. Okay, so I have finished filing, shaping and buffing, and I also cleaned the nail plate. Now let's just start with some gel application. So for gel application, one thing you have to keep in mind is always apply thin layers. Do not put too much polish onto the nails. Then if you do that, that's when you have like peel off or bubbles forming in after 1 or 2 days. So just make sure you're applying thinner lanes. As you can see how slow I'm applying, just especially the first layer you have to be very careful, otherwise either you will flood your cuticle or you will have like issues later. Okay, so just apply very carefully. After every layer, you need to cure it in the UV LED lamp. So the curing time will depend on what your product brand is recommending, and plus how old your machine, the curing unit is. So depending on that, you can decide your curing time. So normally for gel polishes, I do 60 to 90 second curing because I use a very powerful lamp, or you can use 90 or 1 minute to cure a gel polish. Okay, and after that I also decided to add a little bit of glitter onto the ring finger and all, just to add like a little extra. So client wanted this, so that's what she asked was what I was doing here. So you can do whatever nail art, whatever designs your client prefers. So this is the color and the design that she chose, and here is our final finished look, and I really like the way it turned out. And I also asked her to come for her appointment often so that we can work on the nail growth. And if you have ever worked on any such nails, please do let me know, and I'll see you soon on my next video. Until then, take care. Thank you for watching.